In this unit of the course, we're going to start looking at teaching skills, and in particular we're going to be considering the skills of speaking and listening. Now, although we've come across skills activities on the course before, the primary aim of those activities was never skills development. It was simply language systems consolidation. The reading activities, the listening activities or whatever were there either to present or to consolidate the student's knowledge of a structure or a vocabulary area that was the actual objective of the lesson. Now, I'm not saying that's not valid, it is. We need that sort of skills work in the lesson. However, as I said, it's skills practice, it's not skills development, and I want to make a very clear distinction between the two. To give you an example, imagine that you asked me to teach you to ride a horse, and I just brought the horse in front of you and said, there you are, get on and practice. Well, I think you'd say immediately that that's not teaching you how to ride a horse. If you wanted me to teach you to ride a horse, then you would want me to explain how you did various things. How do you actually get on? It's not as obvious as it seems. I've seen plenty of people ending up facing the horse's tail when they tried. What position do you have to sit in? What position are your feet in? How do you hold the reins? How do you make the horse go? Even more important, how do you make him stop? How do you turn left? How do you turn right? There are lots of little things which you need to know, which build up to enable you to actually ride a horse, in other words, to master the skill. And these little individual things we can call sub-skills. Now, I would argue that the essence of competence in any skill, whatever it is the ability to use a vast number of sub-skills all together and to the point of automaticity. Think, as another example, of when you were learning to drive and had to change gear for the first time. It was probably very difficult. You had to, with one hand, move the gear stick, with the other steer, your foot had to be doing something on the clutch, and you had to be looking out the window in order to, the windscreen, in order to check the traffic at the same time. Putting all these things together, that's the difficult thing, not necessarily doing one at a time, but actually doing them all in unison. And it can be that having to do them all the time actually blocks you, even though you might be quite good at doing something in isolation. Okay, no problem when the car is completely still doing that with the gear stick. It's doing it when you're in motion that causes the problems. But, you might say, don't our students already know how to listen or to speak? I mean, they do it all the time in their own language. Well, yes, that's true, and obviously there's going to be a lot of overlap. But I would argue that the overlap is not 100%. Now, I can ride a horse, but I've never ridden a camel. And I suspect that if you asked me to ride a camel, although maybe I'd have a head start on somebody who'd never ridden any type of animal, I would still have an awful lot to learn about camel riding as opposed to horse riding. And I would argue it's the same for listening to or speaking to or reading or writing in a new language. Although there's overlap, there are things which are specific to that particular language, which have to be learnt anew, and then incorporated with all the other things that we're doing at the same time. As an example of that, let's start by trying to define some listening sub-skills. What I'm going to do is I'm going to read some text to you, and what I would like you to do is, pausing the tape whenever you need to decide what you actually had to do in order to understand what was in the text. Now, I'm going to read them quite quickly through, so do pause the tape and make notes as you go. Here we go. Number 1. Last week, my friend gave birth to a lovely baby boy. Number 2, and there are 2 versions of number 2, so 2A. David's 18. He lives with his family near Bramley. 2B. Paul's 46. He lives with his family near Oulu. 3. let's go this afternoon. I really want to stay in this morning because it's 3 weeks since I've paid for the milk and I think he's coming this morning. 4. The procedural statements on the servers either execute the entire transaction or they fail it as a group. 5. She said the leaves were from a ginkgo tree, but they can't have been. Ginkgo leaves are flavolate and these were ovovate. 6a. The pilot was arrested. 6b. The pirate was arrested. 7a. He's 30 next week. 7b. He's 13 next week. 8. He was speaking to an old man. Now 9 is a slightly longer extract, but it's only the last sentence you're interested in, and I'm going to give you 4 different versions of the last sentence. Here's the introduction. At the hospital where I work, they do what they call pet therapy. Volunteers bring pets in for the patients to see and to play with. There was a guy in today, in fact, and he brought a boxer. Now the next version. There was a guy in today, in fact, and he brought a box of puppies. 9c, no. There was a guy in today, in fact, and he brought a boxer puppy. And 9d. There was a guy in today, in fact, and he brought some boxer puppies. 10a. So he doesn't want me to tell her. 10b. So he doesn't want me to tell her. 11a. And 6 people have died. Police say they're following up information provided by a key eyewitness. 11b. And 6 people have died. Police say they're following up information provided by a key eyewitness. 12. Well, that was very nice of him. 12b. Well, that was very nice of him. 13a. I didn't go there on Thursday. 13b. I didn't go there on Thursday. And now 14. A while back I went on holiday for a couple of weeks and I asked my sister-in-law, to come in to see to them. And I left all the instructions, but she can't have followed them because when I got back they were dead as doornails and just sort of floating on the surface, all bloated. I think she must have overfed them or something. Okay, there were 14 texts there, and I'm going to be arguing that in order to understand what was said in those texts, you had to use a variety of different sub-skills. And what those sub-skills are exactly, we'll be looking at in the PowerPoint presentation which follows this video. So once you've made your notes, you might want to listen to them again. Once you've made your notes, go to the PowerPoint presentation and we'll analyse exactly what was going on.